Hello everyone, Hugsy Arts here, back with another tutorial, and this one is going to be on urban sketching. So not urban sketching on Procreate like I've done recently, actual proper urban sketching onto some watercolour paper with real watercolours. Those that know me know I love to urban sketch, so everything about the style suits me. It's loose, it's free, and it's expressive and creates sort of really mind-bending results, that you can actually feel rather than just look at and go, oh yeah, that's very good. It's a lot more life to an urban sketch than to a detailed, perfect picture, if you will. So that's why I kind of love it. So I'm going to be doing something a bit different. I'm going to be using a pen that I haven't really used before. So, I mean, these two they're the same pen. They're brush pens. They're waterproof. Archival inks. They're called Sakura. I think I got them on Amazon for a pack. So I got two of these. These are the brush ones. So I'm going to be trying to get more variety in my line work. Sorry if my throat sounds a bit bad. I've been quite ill all the last week. Bit of man flu going on, so I'm just recovering. So yeah, they're Pigma brushes, and I'm going to be trying to do the whole thing with these. They're both identical. One of them's actually not got much in, but I've only really ever used these for like doing my caricatures and stuff. I've never really tried it on an urban sketch, so interesting to see how it goes. I've also got the same brand brush, but this is a 0.3. It's just a flat nib. I don't know if you could see that, just for doing some very small details. Just show you the nib on this one. There you go. It's like a brush nib. So I'm going to be pressing very lightly with these because I don't want big black marks everywhere. I just got my little watercolour Cotman set, some Cotman paints, and I got a new watercolour brush which I'm excited to try. So it's going to be fun to use. Super soft, so I'm hoping to just add some loose splashy watercolours at the end. And I've also got some water, of course. That's it. That's all you need when you're doing urban sketching, is just sort of the correct paper, waterproof ink, and your watercolours and water, and then off you go. So I've added the picture inlay there. I don't know if you can. I'm going to edit it in so that you can see it whilst I'm drawing what I'm seeing. Quite a funky looking building. I assume it's in Turkey because of the Turkish flag. I just think it would make a pretty great urban sketch, so that's why I've chose this picture. So let's get stuck in. Straight in with these brush pens. Fingers crossed. Let me just determine which one is the new one. Yeah, that's got to be the old one. Looks pretty weathered. Let's get straight stuck in. So, I mean, this not so much on this one, but if I was doing sort of a vanishing point urban sketch, you need to sort of determine your vanishing point and your smallest parts first, or vice versa. Find your biggest parts first, so that you can correctly get everything else into proportion. So if you're starting at, like, say, the smallest vanishing point, you're going to be getting your small lines and buildings in. You build up from that to keep perspective. Not so much in this case. This is just going to be a crack on and do it. I mean, it's a funky looking building. It's pretty hard to go wrong with this type of reference, to be fair. So yeah, this is more about trying my new brush, if I'm being honest. Right, let's get stuck in. No pencil work, no rough draft. Let's just get stuck in. So try and determine the top of this house. Pretty vertical line there going down. A little bit thick, these brushes. Not really going as thin as maybe I would prefer. Still, we'll see. We'll see. Try and get this bit in here. Just looking for shapes, basically. I mean, I'm trying to stay loose. I just want to get the start, get off to a good start in terms of the composition and the proportions. I'll be keeping the minute details for my 0.3 pen, which is a lot smaller, but for the rest I'm just going to be pretty loose once I get going. What I like about urban sketching, I mean, I do appreciate the neat ones, I can appreciate skill when I see it, but I just like the ones which sort of play with the proportions and stuff whilst still resembling what they're supposed to be. They make them look quite dreamy, quite I don't know, kind of an Alice in Wonderland fantasy sort of feel. That's kind of what gets me. So these are waterproof inks, but if you start painting on at the end too thick, you will cover them. You may need to go back in. So I like to, when I'm washing at the end with the watercolour, keep it really super duper wet. Just I mean, these are nice brushes to use, I've got to be fair. They're really nice to use, the way they chuck the ink out. Bit of that there. The beauty of urban sketching is it sort of comes from a person's mind. It's kind of what your brain sees, rather than a photographic perfect view. It's kind of what your imagination and your dreams see is different. I fit 3 windows in there now. Gone a bit haywire with the perspective already. I've got a bit carried away here, I think. Don't matter, we'll finish it and we'll still enjoy it. Just got to remember to keep my small strokes small. A variety is the spice of life, that's what they say. See, I'm not quite as loose as some, I kind of, that's probably my sort of cartoony kind of background kicking in, but obviously there's some urban sketchers who are just lines everywhere, and I love it. And that's the beauty of urban sketching. You will find basically your style will find you. There's no hiding. There's no right or wrong. I am going to add that sort of, I don't know what it is. What is that? Is that like an old washing line or something? Obviously, you're just looking, checking the angles at the moment on the sides, seeing that we're still coming down fairly parallel. I may not necessarily want that. It's also good when you're doing the urban sketching to just keep some lines fluent and like, it's hard to explain. Keep the line art as one, if you know what I mean, without taking a break. Just adds like fluidity to the whole thing. And my main focus is this big old building. I've got a bit of a curve going on for the top part of this, so we're going to try and just try and get some sort of curve going on mine. There's a bit of a sign there. Ooh, that was a bit hectic. Some sort of cases and barrels stacked up there. Let's get that flag so I know where I am. Yeah, sometimes when I'm actually pressing, I'm barely touching the paper to try and get a small stroke. I mean, although they're a joy to use, I would maybe, if they were a fraction smaller, maybe I just need more practice. So we're going to call this the end point there. I'm going to try and get a bit of that table going on. I want to try and get some of these windows here in as well. Even if it's just like so, to just to tell the viewer that there's windows there. A bit of a bush there going on. If I was on Procreate, I'd be liquefying the heck out of the top of this to stretch it back out, but I might just bring it back out anyway with some little extra things going on. Let's get that in there. Drain pipe. so I will. I'll do that. I'll do whatever I want because it's mine. And we'll just do that bit again. Just looking now at some darker places, and I'm going to be adding some more ink to them. Said I was going to add this in, so I will. I don't know what it is, but mine's going to go by there. Trying to put in the impression that there's a sort of building behind, but yeah, very loose, just trying to keep it really loose, and maybe that there's some building there too. Put a bit of bump in. Right, what I'm going to do now is just add in some of my smaller pen, which is the 0.3 Sakura, and just try and find some of those little wires and stuff that's coming here and there. Just going to be a bit random and a bit sporadic with it. That's it. That shall do. I'm going to just put a little quick signature on this while I'm here. so I remember that I did it. And let's get some paint on it then. I'm just going to give that 2 seconds to just dry, and then we'll get some paint on. Let me just add a bit of texture though. Just up here, it just looks like this a bit, it almost looks a bit bored there on his own. Sometimes just add in random angles and lines, even circles, can add texture. Alright, I'm just going to let that dry. I'll come back in a bit. Alright, welcome back. I think that's long enough. I've given it a few minutes. I mean, they're permanent markers, they're waterproof, so I'm sure it's dry by now. So I've just wet my brush, and I'm just going to start splashing some water in, hopefully. I like to work wet on wet. That just gives a nice little texture of what I'm going for. I'm just gonna soak. Oh, there's a bit of a bleed there. I think so. So that's one fail for the pen. Just soaking it up with water, and now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna grab. Can you see? Just gonna grab some of this dark blue here. Do sort of cools at the top and work my way down. Sort of start off with a very wet blue at the top. As you can see, that's so wet, it's soaking. That's what we want. Okay, I want that to be sort of gradually turning warmer. So I'm going to mix that with a bit of red. Like a dark purple now. Splash a bit of that in. Just drop it in like so, and I'm going to make my way along now. And we're going to start going a bit warmer in colour now. Starting a new little palette. Bring a bit of orange into this. Sure it's still soaking at the bottom here as we add a bit of yellow. Very light yellow, it's going to mix nice with the orange. kind of let it do what it wants to do. Just to add some darker bits to this blue. Right, so just wondering if we can get some cool green in somehow. Just sort of maybe insinuate some foliage, some splatters here and there. I think it looks nice. I've got this very warm yellow by here. I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of variety to the bottom of that. And then we'll just finish with some splats. I think that'll do. And that's the beauty of urban sketching. You just sort of have fun, go mad. We'll come back, see how it looks once it dries. Obviously once it's framed and on the wall, it doesn't really matter, it's yours and it means a lot. Thanks for watching anyway guys, take care and I'll speak to you all soon. Hello everyone, welcome back. So I've given this a good few hours now and it's perfectly dry. So, well, it's dry enough, I should say, it's dry enough. There's still some wet puddles about. So what I wanted to do is just quickly go in now with sort of an alcohol marker, which is a little trick to just add some shadows to some certain parts. So I'm using like a cool purplish sort of colour for some cool shadows. Now this is actually called mauve shadow, this colour. And I'm just going to be sort of loosely pretty sporadically just placing it into shadowed areas where I want less attention. Get all that in there like so. Just adds a bit of interest to some colour variety, and it, obviously because it cools and warms, it sort of lends itself nicely to what we're doing. Yeah, so subtle, but you know, it's all to catch the eye. And what I said earlier, what I mentioned is when you're doing these, you can sometimes paint too thick. So maybe I've gone a bit too thick in certain areas, but it's so vibrant. And I just want to go over certain areas with my ink pen, sharpening up certain parts. And bringing it back out. Like so. Just darkening certain areas for the contrast. I haven't even got the reference to hand currently, I'm just sort of randomly doing this now for interest. Yeah, that's gonna do. Might even throw a few ink splodges in to sort of keep with the wet ink sort of theme. Yeah, I think we'll call that one done. That's good to be obviously give it a bit longer now to properly dry. We could bang that in a frame now and we can call that done, and it's going to look pretty beautiful and colourful on somebody's wall. So thanks for watching. Any questions, remember, just I'll ask in the group anyway, but any questions, yeah, fire away.